Hello Rebrand gang, and welcome to episode 41 of Rebrand Everything, the weekly graphic design show where we create new options for famous company logos. This week we're going to be looking at the LG logo, and thanks to Anna who submitted that over on the form at rebrandeverything.com. Let's go. So as always, the first step into creating a logo design is to do the research on the company, research on the company history, the logo, current logo and the logo history. A look at the LG logo history shows they have used this logo for a long time, since 1995, with just a few small adjustments being made every few years, but ultimately it's a pretty similar logo. They have this page on their website which shows that they have a 3D logo and a corporate logo, which is just kind of like flat design. They also have links to download the vector files for both of these logos, which has just made my life a lot easier whilst making this video, so cheers LG. The corporate icon is great, it's scalable, it's tidy, it's clean and it's friendly. The 3D icon has a little bit too much detail for me. It's got a gradient in there, it's got these tiny little bevels which you can barely see when it's scaled down, so it's kind of just all additional detail that probably isn't really necessary. And because of all these details it doesn't scale so well. This dual logo approach seems like a little bit of a strange thing to do, and all I can guess is that it's kind of been born from a meeting where they've said they want the logo to pop more off of the page. So they've added this additional shading and sort of like bevels and like gradient inside there just to give it that little extra boost that helps it stand off the page in certain situations. The icon itself is cool, as the initials LG also make this smiling face, which I'm sure you've probably seen now, but just in case you didn't notice that. And this links nicely to their brand culture of like pleasing the customer and putting humanity first, which is something that it says on their website. I like the pink colour that they use as well. It's different and it's a refreshing change from the kind of blues, reds and just like blacks and greys that most tech companies seem to use these days. Their slogan is "Life's good," which is nice and positive, and obviously the first letters of them two make up the company name anyway, so LG, Life's Good, all ties in nicely, it's good. I think the font that they use for the actual LG logo and the Life's Good text could probably be adjusted to look a little bit less basic. I know it's not to Homer or Verdana, but I get that kind of vibe from it. It just seems a little bit basic and a little bit Microsoft wordy for me. So I think I'll change that out for something a little bit more tech company-esque. I like the LG logo already, so I think this is going to be a pretty tough project, but let's get into it. So as always, the sketching stage was just an absolute mess of random ideas. Most of these ideas that I was drawing out are focused on integrating the two letters together in different ways, as the product range from LG is quite vast. Therefore you end up kind of trapped, as you can't focus on any one product because it would be too like direct and too sort of channeled in. So then you start thinking more broadly with an icon that sums up sort of like technology, for example, but then that you find that whatever you create just starts to look like a generic icon that you'll find on like a stock library website. So it's kind of just trying to find that balance. This is when I would normally look into the history of the company to see if there is anything notable which can be pulled out and then used as part of the icon or used as part of the logo. One thing I found out on Wikipedia is that LG stands for Lucky Gold Star, and that's what they used to be called back in the day. So I thought perhaps we could include a star in the logo as a little nod to their heritage, but only if I could make that fit nicely, because it seems like quite a stretched link now. It seems like quite a tedious link to that now, because I don't think anyone really knows that it used to be called Lucky Gold Star. Something that might be worth focusing on more is the fact that LG's main focus is the human aspect, so I was kind of looking at other ways of sort of keeping that inside the logo. It's always difficult when their current logo is already good and it kind of ties in that human element as well, so I've kind of got all bases covered, but I still think we can produce something nice. And then because their current logo is good, I was also drawing out other ways to develop that current icon, and because I think the icon's good, I wanted to try just a few different things to make it a little bit bolder and a little bit cleaner and maybe even a little bit more scalable. Dogs barking. If you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to press like on this video. It really helps the channel out. Thank you very much. For option 1, I wanted to create an evolution of their current logo to produce something that's a little bit more powerful and that wouldn't need a secondary version to kind of pop off the page. My idea was to take the brighter pink colour from the gradient of the 3D logo and then use this for the icon, and then make the text a darker grey, which then increases the contrast between them two colours, and hopefully it will make it pop more. I also adjusted the icon slightly so the nose wasn't quite as long, as it was just looking a little bit weird. The more I looked at it, the weirder it looked. I never noticed it before, but as I was kind of focusing in on it for ages, I did notice that that nose looked like super long. The coloured boxes that you can see me whizzing around with here are just temporary size guides. I find it sometimes easier to match the spacing using like a rectangle as a spacing guide instead of trying to do everything with like mathematics, but it's still perfectly accurate as well because you've got that exact sort of jig. Your spacing is always perfect. As the G in the icon is made from a perfect circle, I wanted to look at changing the font for the main text so it fitted a little bit better with this. The font Cera, C-E-R-A, looked nice and modern, and the G was much more circular than their previous font that LG used, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then I also changed the tagline because great is better than good, and it obviously still fits the concept, still starts with the same initials, so it's all good.
2.
For option 2, I wanted to include this idea that I'd drawn on the notepad. The idea is like a large G in the centre of 12 capital L's sort of revolving around the outside, kind of like numbers on a clock. The added attraction to this idea is the fact that it kind of looks like the sun or a flower, which are both like natural things that humans need to live, which ties in with LG's humanity first approach to business. If I had to give it the full like designer spiel, I'd say that the logo is based on the sun, which is vital for human life, and LG and their products work around the clock to bring added value to the lives of their consumers. That sounds like something a designer would say, doesn't it?
3.
For option 3, I wanted to try something a little bit different, or actually completely different, and create a grid-like logo to make up the 2 letters. I tried a few things, but they felt very cold and stiff compared to how LG present themselves like the rest of their brand, not just the logo. They're always quite friendly and everything, and this just felt a little bit like rock solid and hard. So because of that, I had to have a little rethink. And then after a lot more fiddling around, I found that rotating the icon that I'd produced here and then putting it inside a pink box seemed to be a way of keeping that very structured grid-like look whilst adding some interest and just generally like making it look a little bit more like bespoke and dynamic. I teamed this new icon up with Montserrat Bold, and I think the shape of the G in that font fits the vibe of the icon well.
4.
So I started option 4 with the updated face icon I made in option 1. I quite like this little icon as it does fit the brand well, but I wanted to try it in a different format that kind of unifies the text and the icon a little bit more. I put both of the elements inside a rectangle and then went to town with the rounded corners until I was happy with the spacing and everything looked comfortable. I think this logo would be nice and flexible, as if they ever wanted to use it on top of a photograph background it would be very easy compared to the old logo. Where the icon and text elements were separate, I think this one where it's all in one panel, it'll be easy just to slap on even a photograph background or a coloured background and it's always going to stand out and be clear. It's kind of got its own sort of space around the elements. And also I didn't want the comments crew down below to call me lazy, so I had a look at adapting the icon a little bit, which made quite a distinctive look that I then developed across the text as well, and I think that little sharp edges just might make it look a little bit more techie, but then I'm not sure. Let me know down in the comments, but I'm just hoping you're not going to call me lazy.
5.
For option 5, I wanted to make what I would call is the obvious link between the 2 letters, and that's extending the bottom of the L out to meet like the crossbar of the G. When I was developing this, I tried quite a few different layouts and it started looking a little bit boxed in, which I thought was good at first. I thought that made a nice little unit, but then I started feeling like maybe it's a little bit enclosed and maybe a little bit boring. So when I was trying to show this overlap, what I would normally do is just put a stroke on the character in front, or like on top, to give the separation between the 2, so like a white stroke, just so it's kind of got this perfect contour around the top shape. But I wanted to try something a little bit different, so I decided to include a shadow on the letter beneath to show that overlap. And to do that, I just simply made a gradient with a darker colour in the middle to just make that shadow effect. And then as I was duplicating the design and trying new things, just because how I like to work is duplicate the design, make the change, look at it compared to the old one. Have I improved it? Yes. Okay, try again. If I haven't improved it, go back to that one and try something else. Until I basically kind of like fight them to the death until I've got what I think is my perfect logo, or the closest in the vision in my head. And as I was duplicating these designs and trying new things, I noticed that if I made the L and the G actually meet and touch in the middle, it made this cheeky mouth shape in the lower half of the G. And then I kind of started it as a joke to myself, just kind of like putting eyes inside the letter. But then I thought to myself, well, this is option 5, and last week in the Lego logo redesign, option 5 had a face in it, so why don't we put a face in this option 5 as well? It might be a little bit childish, but if nothing else, it will stand out when sitting next to other tech company logos. Okay then, Rebrand gang, just before I show you them final options, I want to remind you to press the little button up here and vote for your favourite option, and then head straight down to the comments below and let me know why that was your favourite and what you would have done to make it better. If you haven't pressed like on this video already, please remember to press like, it really helps the channel out, and press subscribe if you want to see a video like this every single week. Okay then, Rebrand gang, let's see them final options.